Welcome to this week's episode of Managing the Storm. Operation Care is an organization that aspires to empower others holistically through self enlightenment, encouragement, and education as we recover, reset, and renew. Over the next few minutes, you will be given many tools and resources to make you an empowered individual. So like and share this video. Now let's welcome our host, Hollis Woodard.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining in today as we just kind of dive into talking about happiness. We're going to talk a little bit about happiness. And I told you guys to get your pen, get your paper, get ready for today because we're going to do something a little different. And what I want to start out with is just doing a little bit of meditation. A little bit of meditation. So we're going to just dive right into that. So they had some studies, and studies have kind of said that meditation just kind of helps calm people down and, help us with happiness, helping to cultivate a life of happiness. So what I want you to do with me first is we're going to do a little practice. It's only going to take a couple of minutes, but I want you to close your eyes, and just kind of get into that relaxed mode. Just kind of do a little resting. Kind of sit up straight so your spine is straight. Take a few little deep breaths and just kind of relax yourself. Now with your eyes closed, I want you to start to think about the room that you're in, the area that you're in. In your mind, visualize everything that's in that room, all those, beautiful decorations, the furniture, whatever it is that's in that room. Just start to visualize that while you have your eyes closed. Think about the walls, think about the floors, whatever it is. Now, while you're thinking about that room and you're getting into your relaxed mode, imagine yourself somewhere, I don't know, on the beach or somewhere that you think is a really relaxing type of place. Somewhere that you find calming, maybe by the ocean. You hear the water splashing. Oh, the waves, the sound of the water. It's just so enlightening. Now I want you to think about a song. Think about a song that you know very well. Like this is one of your favorite songs and you know all the lyrics to this song. Just begin to think about that. Your eyes closed and you're going into your relaxed mode. Now bring the volume down. Just imagine bringing the volume down a little bit. Taking it into a little lower relaxing mode. Real low, nice and soft. And now I want you to bring the volume back up. Think about that same song, but in a louder way. And now I want you to open your eyes now. I just wanted you to see just how you can take control over yourself, over your own mind, and just make yourself relax. We get in such a hustle, bustle type life that sometimes we forget to just take a moment to relax. Just take a moment to relax. And you can just think about that and how that made you feel just for that couple minutes to just bring yourself into a relaxation moment. So I was reading this article in Health Guide, and it was talking about cultivating happiness. And I just wanted to share a little bit about this and about what it said about meditation. And it was saying that mindfulness meditation is a powerful technique for learning to live and enjoy the moment. How meditation is exercise for your brain. So just like we do our physical exercising, we also need to have some mental exercises. And it was saying that mindfulness meditation is a powerful technique for learning to live in the moment and enjoy the moment, and how meditation exercises the brain. And if you practice this regularly, um, meditation appears to decrease the activity in the area of the brain associated with negative thoughts and anxiety and depression. So if you just begin to do this on a regular basis, this can kind of help you along the way as you deal with negative thoughts. And at the same time, it increases activity in the areas associated with joy and contentment and peace. And it also strengthens areas of the brain that's in charge of managing emotions and controlling attention. So just think for a moment, have you ever been walking along and you just kind of thinking and your mind takes you out somewhere else, and before you know it, you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize that I've been walking this long, or I've been doing whatever it is that you were doing for this long. And so in this same article in Health Guide, they talk about walking meditation. And walking meditation, of course, you're not seated, because most of the time people think of meditation, they think of you being seated and stuff, and upright posture and all of that. But in this case, walking meditation, they said that it's meditation that's mindfulness, involves being focused on the physicality of each step. So every step that you're taking, your focus is just on those steps, how your feet touch the ground, the rhythm of how you're breathing while you're walking, and the feeling of the wind against your face when you're walking. So today we want to just talk a little bit about planting seeds that reveal happiness within you. So we're going to talk about internal happiness, and we're going to dig up some seeds that has caused limitations that can block your happiness, because we all know that when you want to get rid of something, think of a weed. You can't just pull a weed up. because the weed will grow again. Some would say, well, if you pull the root up, then it can't grow. But if that root comes from a seed, which most stuff does, you need to get that seed up, because that seed will keep producing. It will keep reproducing over and over and over again. So we're going to talk about how we're going to dig up some seeds and how we're going to plant some new seeds that's going to help us get to a point where we can have internal happiness. Because we all want to be happy, right? This is what we say we want in life. We want to be happy. But there's belief that there's some layers that causes us to not be happy. You know, there's some secrets that some say that comes with happiness and how to get happiness. So what is happiness? So happiness is actually, it's joy, it's contentment. It's a state in which we experience complete inner peace and stillness and calmness. It's where we feel like we fulfill our needs. It's a sense that life is good and meaningful and worthwhile. And so what do we want to be happy? Why happiness? Happiness, they say, helps with your critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity skills. It boosts your immune system. It helps you live longer, because we know sometimes they say those people, they died, they were so mean and they were just miserable, you know, but they lived a short life because they were just so miserable. So we know that happiness helps us feel fulfilled. It helps us feel fulfilled in our relationships, and it gives us more balance and manages stress. So those are reasons why we want to be happy. So as we think about an onion has so many layers, and you know, you can, you know, peel back the skin of the onion or the outer peel of the onion, and you want to get down to those layers, you know. And so like that, we're going to talk about digging up some seeds. And one of the seeds that we're going to dig into is the seed of desire. Desire. Anything that we do starts with a desire. You have to want to do something. And one of the biggest causes of unhappiness is a feeling of wanting something that you feel like you can't have or that you don't have. This is where the notion that desire is the cause of suffering comes from. So your desires are extremely powerful, and in fact, they create everything that goes on in your life. So if you don't allow yourself to want something, then there's almost zero chance that you will ever have it. So you have to have a desire. You have to want something. So how do you handle that negative feeling of not having it? So first you need to start by identifying what it is that you actually want. Why do you believe that this thing that you say you want is going to make you happier if you get it? Will it really make you happy? Or is it going to be just a temporary fix for a period of time, and then you're going to start wanting something else? Because internal happiness is not based off of outside sources. It is strictly based off of internal. Because if you got a promotion on your job, after about 3-4 months, when you've gotten used to having that extra, you know, $30-$40, that's not going to make you happy anymore, because that's an external source. So we're going to talk, so we just want to deal with, you know, some steps for your internal happiness. So the desire, it has to come from you. And sometimes our desires, are not even our desires. They come from other people. They may have come from our parents or other family members or friends or society, or we look at things that's going on in church and we say, oh, I want that, or I want to be like him, or I want to be like her. Or we look at social media and we let social media dictate how we're going to live our lives, and we begin to get those desires. But the bottom line is that you have to do some soul searching and determine, what do you want, opposed to what you've been programmed to want or what you see around you. So that's desire. Starts with the desire. So now so desire kind of takes us into limiting beliefs. And what I mean by limiting beliefs is someone says something and we grab a hold of it and we run with it. And we think that now is the gospel. These are thoughts and beliefs that are grounded in doubt or negativity or hopelessness. And these doubts can negatively impact how we feel. It impacts our emotions and our mental health. So when you speak negative about yourself, these harmful perceptions are common issues that can contribute to the symptoms of mood and anxiety. We know that just negative thoughts sometimes makes us overwhelmed, and we do that to ourselves. So everybody has like their core beliefs, and and these core beliefs affect how you interpret things that go on in your life and how they influence the way you think or feel or behave. But unhealthy beliefs lead to unhealthy habits, and unhealthy habits just kind of keeps producing negative outcomes and ultimately reinforces unhealthy beliefs. So it's like a vicious cycle. It just keeps going around and around and around. Unhealthy habits, unhealthy beliefs, negative outcomes, unhealthy habits, unhealthy beliefs. So you can see just how that keeps going around and around and around. And sometimes these vicious cycles are hard to break. Sometimes you do all you can, or what you think that you can do to break these habits, but you keep still going around in these vicious cycles. I heard a story one time about a person who believed that they were unlovable. They felt that their heart was, in another place. It was just in some deep, dark place. They would jump from one unhealthy relationship to the next unhealthy relationship or to the next relationship. And then this whole cycle just kept going around and around and around. And so every time this person dated someone, either they treated that person bad or that person treated them bad. And so instead of them actually believing that they were fearfully and wonderfully made, that they were made from the image of God, their limiting beliefs reinforced them to believe that they were unlovable and they would never be in a healthy relationship. This is what they believed based off of, what they saw. We've often heard, I believe most of us probably have heard that old saying, money is the root of all evil. I remember, hearing my mom saying that when I was a kid. And so I grew up like believing money is the root of all evil. So you shouldn't, want all this money because it's the root of all evil. And then I got, older, and I started reading the Word of God. And I found out that in 1 Timothy 6:10, that the love of money is the root of all evil. which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. So it is not money being the root of all evil, but the Bible says that the love of money. So that's two separate things. So, and I know that, sometimes, especially back in the days of old, scriptures were all often misquoted, or taken out of content, but you could see how this little simple, harmless seemingly belief was passed down, and it created like it became like a disease. It became like, cancer. And I'm probably not the only person that thought about back then that you shouldn't, want to have a lot of money. Just have enough to get by and you'll be all right, because that's what I thought, because that's what I had heard. So I'll definitely say that it is really, really, really important for us to get rid of limiting beliefs such as these. Even the same thing is no pain, no gain. Because in order to have something and be successful, it doesn't mean that it has to be painful. You do not have to go through pain to have happiness or enjoyment. So words do have power. So it's really, really important to start paying close attention to the words that you use, because your words that you use represents what you believe. Words are like seeds that's being planted on the inside of you that take root. And sometimes these seeds are hard to get rid of. Your ego and identity. What do you say about yourself? What do you think about yourself? Who do you say you are? Who do you think you are? Whose are you? Who do you believe that you want to be? We're talking about your identity, self-identity. So unless we actually stop to consider what roles we play and question if we are even where we want to be, we're stuck replaying roles that we've learned in childhood over and over again. And oftentimes these roles have been dysfunctional and unfulfilling. We'll continue to live out what they said or what they told me, or, and I say this all the time, who is they? We never knew who they was, Have you ever heard something like, oh, wow, you sound just like your mother. You sound just like your father. You act just like so-and-so. I know, like my one sister, oftentimes she'll tell me something like, you so much like our mother. You got her ways, girl, I tell you, you got her ways. And that is true. I have a lot of her ways because this is what was instilled in me. Now, some of them may not even be good. But these are those seeds that we need to dig up. These are these seeds that we're having to dig out. So, and sometimes trying to dig up seeds and getting all this stuff that's been buried deep inside of us can be confusing and frustrating, until we actually find out what our actual own identity is, what we create for ourselves based off of who we know and believe that we are. So you don't have to believe what somebody else has said for you. You have a choice, and life is about choices. You get to decide and determine what makes you happy, not what someone else says should make you happy. And I looked at a few scriptures that talks about this. You can read this for yourself. 2 Corinthians 3:17, tells us that the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit is, there's liberty. And another translation says that there's freedom. And liberty just means the power or the scope or the act that one pleases. It's a choice. It's a choice. And the freedom is just the power or the act to speak or think what one wants without hindrance or restraint. So people of God, we have to know that we have a choice, period. Doesn't matter about anything else. You get to decide how you're going to be without limitations. God said you have a choice. And when I looked it up, Webster co-signed it and said that you have a choice as well with liberty and freedom. But having that choice and making that choice, it has to be done in time. Has to be done in time. So this present moment is a choice point for everything. And it's definitely a choice point of focus. And as I told you before, you have a choice. You have to choose that right now is the time. So are you choosing to focus on the past or focus on the present, or are you trying to focus on the future? I don't believe that the key to happiness is focusing on the past. The key to happiness exists right now because you can only experience it right now. Because if it's in the past, it's a memory. You're just reliving what happened then. It's already been done. You can't experience happiness in the future because we haven't even gotten to the future. You're only anticipating what you think happiness is going to be. So you have to experience happiness in the now. So you have to stop putting off, I'm going to be happy when. Stop telling yourself, I'm going to be happy when the kids grow up. I'm going to be happy when I get another job. I'm going to be happy when I get married. I'm going to be happy when I get divorced. No, you won't. You ain't going to be happy with none of those times unless you decide that you're going to be happy right now. Because once you get there, once the kids grow up, once you get the new job, once you get married, once you get divorced, you're going to find some other excuse that's going to have you in a place not feeling good about yourself or not feeling good in that moment. So the only way that you're ever going to be happy is to make a choice that you're going to find joy and happiness in this moment right now. Focus on the now. Focus on the present. So when you focus on negative things, you might be missing out on some great stuff. So just like I said earlier about the desire, about the person who, was in the relationships, the bad relationships, over and over and over. They never lived a fulfilled life because they were stuck thinking that they would never be lovable. So you have to allow yourself to desire something, because if you don't, the chances are you won't ever have it. You have to desire to be happy, because if you don't, the chances are that you probably won't ever be happy. Many people suffer from anxiety and panic attacks and, get nervous. And, I know that your story, that's the story, but while you're living in the now, you have to make sure that you need to get your rest. You need to, and according to Health God, getting quality sleep every night directly affects your happiness and your vitality and your emotional stability during the day. Because anybody, I don't know about you guys, but anybody who deals with sleep deprivation oftentimes are irritable. You know, oftentimes they go through these various different mood swings, and they stressed out. Their day is just not really productive, and they're not making really good decisions because they're tired. So getting adequate rest has the deal. It helps with your happiness. Exercise helps with your happiness. Physical bodily exercise helps with your moods, and it helps your mind. It helps you to focus. It's good for the mind, body, and soul. You have to have balance in your life. Prayer, exercise, healthy diet, healthy thoughts, and so forth, so on. But exercising helps that mental well-being. And they say that people that exercise on a regular basis, and what they consider regularly is like 3 to 5 times a week, that those people have less stress and less anxiety and less depression because they're exercising. And of course, exercising does not have to be something that's very rigorous. You don't have to go run 10 miles, or you don't have to be you know in a gym. You can be in your house walking around in circles. Long as you're moving, do some stretches, ride the bike, dance, put on some music, and act like it's 1970 when you was listening to the OJs, when P-Funk was doing his thing, talking about Flashlight, when Funkadelic was out there. We can remember. Or if you want to bring it into another era, when you want to talk about um, some Shirley Caesar or some Yolanda Adams, whoever it is that you like, put that music on and just start moving, because that's exercise. Do something that you enjoy doing, because if you do something that you enjoy doing, you will continuously do it, and it'll become a habit. And no, before I forget, when you feel like anxiety is coming on, one way that studies have shown to help people with anxiety is to close your eyes, take a couple deep breaths, bring it in with your mouth, blow it out. Bring it in with your nose, blow it out with your mouth, and put your hand over your heart. Put your hand over your heart, and then concentrate on your heartbeat and your breathing. And do that for like 5 or 10 minutes, and you'll start to see your anxiety start to, decrease, and you'll become more calm. And one thing that I found about panic attacks, because sometimes I deal with panic attacks. And one thing that I found about panic attacks, when I read it a few years ago, when I first started having them, and I read something, and it said, when you have a panic attack, to touch five things around you that are different textures. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and I, began to touch. I remember what I read, and I began to touch five things. I touched my headboard. I touched my bed sheets. I touched my actual pillow, not the pillowcase, because that's the same as my sheet, but I touched the actual pillow. I touched my comforter. I touched the shirt that I was wearing. So I touched these five different things, and true enough, it sent a signal to my brain letting me know that I was okay, that I was literally okay. There was no need to panic anymore. I was gonna be all right. I was gonna be all right. Putting the combination to things that I've experienced when I was in the military, that was traumatic to me. And then I lost, one of my sisters, and that was traumatic to me. And, so that kind of like um, engaged with something that I had dealt with before, like I said, in the military, and I began to have panic attacks. And I thank God that, I don't have them now, but it took me a while, and I had to learn that when I feel overwhelmed. So now and sometimes I still feel myself getting a little overwhelmed about something, and I'll be like, oh my God, okay, calm down, Hollis, calm down. You can breathe, it's gonna be okay, and I'll, kind of reposition myself to know that I'm going to be okay. But I don't let the negative things dictate how I'm going to respond now. So I want you to do something with me. Just do this exercise with me. I want you to imagine that you just walked into a room and I give you, or I have a plate of oranges, some good, juicy oranges. And so imagine this now. I cut these oranges. I cut the oranges, and this juice just like goes everywhere because these are good, juicy oranges. And you could smell these oranges. Just imagine this. And if it helps you close your eyes, but just imagine this. So I pick up a slice of this orange and I give it to you. So now you take it in your hand and you put this orange. You're doing this. Put your hands and you put this orange to your mouth so you can feel the texture. You can feel this orange in your hand. You can smell this orange and you feel the juice of this orange as you bite into this piece of orange that I've given you. And if you actually did that, you would feel like for real how your mouth starts to form saliva, because this gets those juices flowing in your mind and it triggers your brain to respond to having a juicy orange that is sweet and good. It automatically would trigger this. So there's so many things in life that triggers us. So this demonstration was just dealing with the power of the mind, and just to show you how your mind causes triggers. And triggers are just patterns of thoughts and behavior that happen automatically. And they're patterns that are conditioned. Think about a song. I talked about a song earlier. Think about that song that you really, really loved. And this song, when you hear this song gets you like moving. I know when I'm like in traffic sometimes, I'm like, I can be sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, like, oh, not another accident. I already got an hour commute. So now you tacking on another 30, 40 minutes just for me to get to work. And then sometimes I'll pop in a CD, because I still play CDs, and I'll pop in a CD in my car, and it might have that beat. And when I get that beat, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm dancing in the car, I'm clapping, I'm like, oh yeah. And the people are looking at me, but I'm having a good time. So even though I'm only going 2-3 miles per hour, I'm enjoying now the fact that I'm in traffic, because that song triggered something in me. It reminded me of something that I was probably doing or where I was when I heard that song for the first time. And that's what triggers do. Triggers are hardwired into our brain. So just think about whatever is traumatic or highly emotional experiences. They also create powerful conditionings and triggers in our brain. And this is why when you find yourself reacting a certain way to situations, you especially situations that are like to the extreme or really overwhelming situations, it's triggers. So, and this is why a person feel like they're on autopilot and they just keep repeating the same behavioral patterns over and over again, because oftentimes they're triggers. What you did in 1930 is what happened to you again in 1950. It happened again in 1970. And now we're in 2020, compacted with all other stuff that's going on. You still have these triggers. But again, you can change these patterns. You can literally rewire the connections between the triggers and the automatic reactions that you have in your brain. You can choose to not be angry, to not be bitter, to not be moody, to not be whatever it is. You can train yourself. You just got to become aware of the patterns, become aware of the triggers. You got to catch them yourself. And when you're in the act of it, do something different. Think about how when you are in your own time, think about something negative. Think about something negative. And this negative thing really takes you into a place. But right when you start to think about this negative thing, if you switch it and start to think about something positive, and you do this all the time, you will begin to rewire your brain to every time you think about that negative thing, something positive comes to you. It takes time, it takes practice. But if you do this consistently, you're going to change negatives into positives. Because any battery, you have a negative and you got a positive. And that's how we are. You got your negative, you got your positive. But you have to choose which one is going to rule you. Is it going to be the negative or is it going to be the positive? Because your emotions and your current mood is a choice. I keep talking about everything is a choice. You have to decide. The Bible said where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, there is freedom. You have a choice to decide. So yes, you can learn tools to control your emotions and to help you feel good right now. No matter what's going on in your life. And I know this sounds like, yeah, right, okay, yeah. But trust me, if you start doing it, action speaks louder than words. If you actually start to do these things, you will start to see changes. So when you're dealing with a painful situation, you're dealing with a stressful situation, you find yourself remembering hurt and pain and disappointment. Think about things that make you happy. Think about, instead of thinking about what you lost, think about what you gained. Think about, even if it's like with the loss of a loved one, yes, there are going to be sad moments. Absolutely. My mom's been gone 29 years. And there are some days that when I think about her, I get sad because I miss her. And I wish that I had those opportunities back that I missed. But I switched that around because I can't stay there long. And I switch it around to something that makes me happy. And it could still be about my mom, but it's something that now makes me laugh. Like she said something really crazy. If the wash don't get it, the rinse will. And I'll be like, that was so crazy, or whatever it was. So you have that choice to take any situation and turn it around. Take a negative, make it a positive. And I remember the prayer for serenity, and I never learned the whole prayer, but I remember the part that just kind of said, God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, and the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I didn't need to know all the rest of it. That part right there lets me know, you know what? There are things that I can change, and there are things that I can't change. But that's my choice to do that. But then with everything, there's always that flip side. There's belief that some people just don't want to be happy. Some people don't want to be happy. Some people like being miserable and complaining all the time. Nothing's ever good, and just on and on and on and on and on. Why is that? Why is reality TV so popular? Because of drama. We like drama. The more drama it is, the more we like it. And some people like that in their own lives. You like drama. You thrive off of drama. And they say that adrenaline is just like a drug. It's like crack cocaine or like heroin. It's a drug. We like that adrenaline. Because adrenaline is a hormone that your body makes in moments of crisis. That adrenaline is kind of like that thing that makes you get into that fight or flight mode. Am I staying or am I going? What we getting ready to do now? We got to do something, Yeah. Adrenaline gives us sometimes a false sense of strength. We like that. So because we like all the messiness, you ever met those people and you say, oh God, they just love mess. They always caught up in some mess. Some people love mess because they're so unhappy that the mess is what they feed off of. But the Bible lets us know that we can have inner happiness even when we're in difficult situations, even through hard times. We can be happy. Everything does not have to be right or what some might say perfect in our lives for us to be happy. Because happiness comes from within. And I believe that if we keep our eyes on God, if we stay focused, this is going to make it easier. Our eyes on God is going to make it easier for us to rise above any trials and tribulations that we may have. Look at Psalms 28:7. It tells you that the Lord is my strength and shield. Psalms 30:11. You have turned my mourning into joyful dancing. Psalms 126:5 say those who plant in tears will harvest with shouts of joy. So in all this sadness, the Bible is telling us that you could still have joy. James said, count it all joy when you find yourself in these situations. Count it all joy. I'm just talking to a few believers now. And if you ain't a believer, tap into it. Just pick it up and read it and get it for yourself. But you have to disconnect from negativity. Disconnect yourself from negativity. Surround yourself with happy people, because wounded people wound other people. Get out of those toxic situations. Don't hang around toxic people. Don't hang around negative people. You got that negative person on your job that every time they come to your desk, they ain't got nothing good to say. It's always, girl, them people. Oh boy, a man, you can't trust it. Always negative. Now, some stuff is true. Don't get that twisted. Some folks you can't trust. Some people are this way or that way. But some people are just negative type people. And you need to get away from those. Stay out of toxic relationships. You know when something is toxic, when it goes against your inner, when it goes against the what you believe at the core of you, leave it alone. Be like the one cartoon used to say, exit stage left, exit stage right. Whatever way he was going out, he was exiting. Connect with people that feed positive spirits into your spirit. People that make you smile, people that make you laugh, people that are like-minded. And for all those entrepreneurs out there that's looking for somebody to come along and connect and help you do your business, don't connect with people that don't have the same vision as you. You don't want to be with someone who is going to be pulling you away. You want to be with people that's going to be just as creative and just as helpful as you are. And don't be afraid. I say this, and I'm going to quote Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks said, "You must never be fearful about what you're doing when it's right." So if God called you to do something, he is definitely going to give you the provisions to do it. So surround yourself with those people that are happy people, motivators, encouragers. That person that sees the glass as half full instead of half empty. Someone said that joy and happiness is contagious, but it's also toxic as well. So be wise when choosing who you surround yourself with. So joy and happiness is contagious, but it's also toxic. So be careful who you surround yourself with. Pray about it. Pray about your inner circle. Pray about those people that you are allowing to connect with you. Disconnect from the negativity. And then realize that you're indefinable. We can't define you. We don't know exactly how to describe you. Yeah, can't put your fingers on it. Yeah. It's only one person who has the ability and the right to define you, and that's you. That's you. Don't give anybody else that power to try to define who you are. You define who you are. Don't give that power to somebody else. It's a big world out there. We live in a big world. You have to find happiness in it. Do the things that make you happy. Take charge of your own life. Maya Angelou said, if you don't like something, change it. And if you can't change it, change your attitude. Change your attitude. Change the way you see it. Change the way you believe it. Change the way you think about it. You are rewiring these limited beliefs. You got to reprogram yourself to believe that you can be happy. I remember growing up and, hearing stuff like speak when you're spoken to. My mother used to say, I quote my mother a lot. That's why my sisters say I'm so much like my mother. But she used to say, I remember when she would get visitors and we'd all be in the house, in the living room, and she would say to me and my sister and my nieces, January, February, March. And that wasn't our name. So that meant get up and get out of this room because grown folks is getting ready to be talking. And children ain't in grown folks' conversations. Children basically were meant to be seen and not heard. And so this is a true story. I remember, now I didn't have kids at this time, and I remember my sweet niece coming to visit. She and my sister came to visit when we were, I was out in California. And I was talking to my sister, and my niece, who was 6 years old, butted in. Well, I still had that children need to be seen, not heard thoughts. And so I said something to my niece, and my niece in turn said to her mother, children have rights too, huh, mama? And my sister goes, yeah, children have rights too. And I thought for a brief moment, when did children get rights? We never had no rights. But I understood that, and I had to stop and think about it. Children do have rights. They do have a mind. And when we try to shut them down, sometimes we create negativity within them. So think about your own life. Think about things that people have said to you in your own life. And in your spare time, answer these questions. Do you believe that all of what people said to you is true? Were there any fears that you developed from these things that they said? Did any of those things that they said to you limit how you believe now? Did some of those things when you were growing up cause you to have limited beliefs? Maybe when they said you ain't gonna mount to nothing, you ain't gonna ever be nothing, did you believe that? Because if you did, retrain yourself to think positive for every negative. You can see that if you do this, you'll see how happier you'll become. Changing your perspective on words. When you change the words that you use, you'll change how you feel. You'll change how you think. Just think about this. Oh man, I gotta go to work tomorrow. Well, let's see how we can change that. Instead of saying, I gotta go to work tomorrow, like it's a bad thing, change that to, I get to go to work tomorrow. I get to go. And see how different now that gives you a different feeling, because you're not talking about what you gotta do like it's negative, but now you've given it a positive. I get to go. Thank God I have a job. Thank God I have a car to get there. Thank God that they're paying me to come here. And this is not all volunteer work. See how that makes a difference in your life? You get to do it. So in closing, just want to talk about the fact that how do you apply this to your life? I've talked about a lot of stuff. How do you apply this to your life? take a look at the words that you use and how you talk about yourself. Is what you're saying about yourself and others about your life focused on what you believe, what you want, or is it focused on what you don't want? If you want to be happier, you have to make the effort to find something good in your life. Find something that's going to make you feel good. Don't let limiting beliefs continue to hold you back. Don't allow what they said to hold you back. Where there's a negative, make it a positive. Take the time to see what your true desires are.
Thank you for joining us. See you next week for another dynamic episode of education, enlightenment, encouragement, and empowerment as we manage the storm.
See what it is that makes you happy. How do you get from point A to point B? Desire, limiting beliefs, your identity. Do it in the now. Your current mood, change it. Monitor your self-talk and focus. Rewrite your limiting beliefs to positive affirmations. Identify your true desires. Does anybody have any questions? That's all I got. That's all I got. Just want to say thank you guys for joining today. Are there any questions? No questions? If you have a question, you should be able to unmute yourself. If you got a comment, a question, a thought, a sentiment, you can unmute yourself and share that. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Glad you enjoyed it. Remember, in all that you do, I want you to sparkle. And if you can't sparkle, shimmer. But I wish you would do like Hollywood. And if you think that we're doing something great, you like the videos, please like them on Operation Care's page and share them. I know that there's a lot of people out there that need to hear about happiness, internal happiness, being happy with themselves. So please share the videos. God bless you all.
Thank you for joining us. See you next week for another dynamic episode of education, enlightenment, encouragement, and empowerment as we manage the storm. Follow Operation Care on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Join us for prayer the first and third Monday via conference call.